Let's talk about how you create a search from a PICO question that you already have. So here I have an example. I have the PICO question on the left, and I've broken it out into its subsequent parts on the right. So our question is, in patients with advanced cancer, does keeping a pain journal result in lower reported pain scores when compared to no intervention? So breaking that out, we can see that the patient are patients with advanced cancer. The intervention is keeping a pain journal. The comparison is no intervention, and the outcome is lower reported pain scores. This is something that you've probably already seen before and is part of how we think about asking a research question. But then how do we actually form that into a search? Here I've taken the broken out version of our PICO question and I've put it into some search boxes. Now this is a similar interface to what you can expect in databases like CINAHL, which are owned by EBSCO, where we actually do have separate boxes listed. It's one of the things that often throws people off when they start a search, if they're not familiar with database searching, is that there are all these different boxes. The way that I use these is by taking each one of our PICO aspects and making one box for each. So first we list the patient or the problem, then we have the intervention, then we would have a comparison, in this case nothing, so we could just eliminate that box, and finally the outcome. So here, as just kind of a sample and an example, I have listed the patient or the problem as cancer or advanced cancer or stage 4. I've used quotation marks around this just to keep them together as a phrase. That's something that works well in CINAHL. I don't usually use quotation marks in PubMed because it prevents you from using some of the other features within PubMed, but you can, it will search it. Next, we see the intervention. I've used pain journal or pain rating. The outcome, I've used score or assessment. Now we've used these search boxes. You can see that I've put or in between each of these different synonyms that I've used, and we've used and in between the different aspects of the question. So the synonyms that I've chosen, I could choose any number of words to describe patients that have cancer. Here I've chosen just a few of them, but you want to just use words that help get at the idea of our patient or our problem. So that may be direct synonyms, it may be a broader or a narrower term, it may be a term that's kind of slightly to the side, that's related, you'd like to find information on it, but kind of an assortment of narrow terms is one way to go about it. But these search boxes are essentially just parentheses. So you can think of putting parentheses around each one of these, and you can do the same search in a single search box. So here I'm showing that these two searches are equivalent. If I put parentheses around my patient and parentheses around my intervention and parentheses around my outcome, then I have the same search. I still use or in between those synonyms and in between my different parts of the search. And as an example, you can get very complicated with this. So here I've taken the search that I've done and I've added a bunch of terms. So here I am getting at the idea of cancer, and then I'm getting at the idea of how advanced it is. In this case, I'm also then looking at a particular type of cancer. That might be something that I'm interested in. Then I'm looking at pain and journal or rating. So the word pain has to show up as well as either journal or rating, and score or assessment. So you can see there are a lot of ways that I could arrange a search, but the main idea when you're converting a PICO question into an effective database search is to make sure that you are getting at the idea of each part of your question, using and in between those parts, and using or internally with a number of different words that help get at the question you're asking or at the concept of that part of the question. There will be some questions where there are a lot of different words that you can use, and there will be some questions where there's really only one or maybe two terms, and that's fine. Just think through what are the words that might be used in an article that I would like to read, and use those. One thing of note is that it's often great to start a search by searching the entire PICO question. You might find that there's not good evidence on that entire question, so you could also break it out a bit. You could look at just the patient and the intervention, or just the intervention and the outcome, And by doing several different searches that kind of slice up your question into a few bytes, then you can put together the information in a more comprehensive synthesis. Finally, I want to show you what this then looks like. So if I just take that whole search string that I created, then I can put it directly into a database like CINAHL. You can use just the single search bar in CINAHL. You don't have to use all of them. So I've just copied and pasted into a single search bar here. And here we get 22 results. Alternatively, I can do that same search in PubMed. Again, I just copy and paste my search string and click search. And here we get 571 results.